So if you live in the South and you're a gardener, one of the things that can be the bane of your existence in your garden is fire ants. That doesn't matter whether you're in the soil, back to Eden, or in containers. Let me show you what I do, especially in containers, to kill these fire ants, because they will get in your containers. Wicking tubs, earth boxes, whatever. Fire ants will get you. Well, this particular wicking tub had a colony of fire ants in it. And I mean, when I tried to cultivate the soil, tried to put in some fertilizer, whatever, they like to eat me up. But I saw them in time to where I didn't really get in them too bad. So here's what I did to kill the fire ants in this wicking tub. And it's the same thing I use whether I'm in the ground, in wood chips, back to Eden type gardening. And this is what I use, Advion fire ant bait. And I'm telling you folks, this stuff is fantastic for fire ants. I don't know whether it works on other ants or whether it's just fire ant specific, but let me tell you what I did. First, some things I don't know, and that is whether or not, you know, when this tub was filled with fire ants, was this the mound? Was this the colony? Or were they underneath and decided to come through? Now I know you can see some of the residue there on the hole, and so that tells me that was an entrance point for them, was that hole, which is this is my hybrid tub. That's just the weep hole that you put in these wicking tubs. I think because I see some residue of that looks like a fire ant mound, you know, that real grainy, sandy looking stuff that they bring to the surface when it gets wet, that looks like that's what that is. So I have a feeling they were probably in the ground, came up through here, and then invaded the container. But I'm not sure whether they actually built the mound, whether the queen, I guess is what I'm trying to say, whether the queen is in here or whether the queen is in the ground and they just use this for, I don't know, maybe larva chambers or something like that for whatever reason. But what I did was just sprinkle the Advion on top, and it takes about a tablespoon or two. It's really not much. Sprinkled it on the top. I didn't work it in the soil or anything. Advion is a bait. They have to come get it, but it's a bait that apparently they like because they do come get it. It's something that they enjoy eating. They want to take it back down to the queen, and as soon as the queen eats it, she's dead, and then the colony dies. If you don't have a queen, colony's dead. A lot of products will just move them. They don't like what you just put on them, so they'll just move somewhere else. But the Advion, to me, certainly seems to kill the entire colony. So I put it on top. 2 days later, they were gone and I could plant. And that's about how long it takes, 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes you'll have to redo the Advion, put another tablespoon or so. Now, if it's in the middle of the summer or something, you could possibly just sprinkle it on the ground, because again, I don't know whether they're down, whether the main colony is down under or whether they're on top. So you could probably just sprinkle it around if you didn't want to put it on your container. Now, if they're in the container, they're going to bring it up and go down with it anyway. I know some of you are freaking out and saying, well, you got to organic this and organic that. Well, these are probably folks that have never had fire ants. Now, here's an example of an earth box, and there is a fire ant mound. Looks like it starts right in here, and then they've mounted up against the earth box. Fire ants love to find something for protection. It can be a stick laying on the ground, it can be a leaf, it can be a container, it can be something else laying on the ground. They like to get under that and start their nest. So a lot of the fire ant mounds you see will have something on top of it, a piece of equipment you left out, a shovel, tree limb, something like that. They like to go under stuff and build their nests under things. So this is a good example. I haven't sprinkled yet, but I will. And this is basically what I do. I'll come in here, because it's warm right now. This is middle of the winter, or this is the end of fall, and I'll just sprinkle. They will take it down in the ground to mama, and mama will be dead, and then they'll die. And it won't take long if I don't get any rain. I'll show you how I'm going to counteract the whole rain thing, because I wasn't going to treat today, but I didn't know about this mound, because we're supposed to, with the possibility of rain today and tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow. So this, again, being a bait, and they'll grab it and take it underground. But if it rains, then it's just going to dissolve that, and it's just going to be a clumpy mess that they're not going to be able to take down. So you can't have it rained on. So this is the way to do it. Just sprinkle it around your container or on top if you think they're in the container. Although being a bait, even if they're in the container, I think they would come down and get it off the ground. But that's just speculation on my part, because I typically put it on the container. Let me show you some instances in the past where it has definitely worked, and an instant in a wicking tub in my blackberries that I've got an issue right now that I need to correct. Now, a month or two ago, I also developed a fire ant mound. You could see, I mean, this is where they were coming up and bringing this is their mound pretty much. All I did was sprinkle some of this Advion on top of the container. Just sprinkled it on top. I didn't mess with the mound. I didn't work it in the soil, anything like that. Just sprinkled it on top. And then I assume they either grabbed it on top of this and took it down into the container, or they took it down into the ground. Wherever the queen was, they want to feed the queen, they want to feed the larvae, they want to feed their workers, whatever. And they came down and either went down in there or they went down in the container. I'm just not sure about that part, but they fed them, because now there's absolutely nothing there. And it was about 2 days later when I could come through here and do that. Now, this particular earth box was treated back a couple of months ago. I've been meaning to show you and I haven't done it. That was a mound. It is no longer a mound. The ants are absolutely dead. So this works. This absolutely works. I also had it right here. I had some cucumbers planted here. That is mound material. All that dirt that's on top, that is from a mound that was in that one. I did the same thing, sprinkled that on top. Now there's nothing. No ants, no nothing. So it works. And let me show you one. I've got an active one right now in one of my blackberry tubs, and show you what I'm going to do to counteract that. It's a big one. So I don't know whether you can see that real well in the shade, but all that mounded up dirt, that is fire ant heaven right there. So all that is a big fire ant mound. I'll go ahead and scratch it a little bit. With the Advion, they say don't disturb the nest. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. There they are. I don't know whether you can see that or not. It's pretty dark. There's about 1 million of them in there. In one other video, I said you can't do this when it's raining. And I had someone comment that he makes a bait station. And I wrote back and said, exactly what you talking about. And he said he puts something in a jar or something like this, and where it's not going to rain in it, and it's going to be protected from the rain, and yet they can come in and out and get it and take it home. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure it's not sitting up where rain would run in it. So it'll either be level or be facing down just a little bit. So I'm going to set that right there. And that should interest them enough to come looking for some food. I may move it around. I'm not really liking exactly where it's sitting, so I may move it around some. There you go. And put a little dirt in it. We'll just see how that goes. I think they're gonna like that. And they'll get in there and figure out where their next meal's coming from, and hopefully it's their last meal. So if you're in the South, deal with the fire ants. This Advion is the best stuff I've found to do it. I've got a video with about 1 million views on it that talks about another product, and I'm a believer in that product. It does work, and that's the Bifin. I'll put a link to that video. But also, the Advion is just, you don't have to mix anything, you just sprinkle. I don't use this in the chicken pen because I'm not sure they wouldn't think it's feed and come up and peck on it and eat it themselves. But that's where I would use the Bifin. But I expect this to be successful. I expect the ants to be gone in a day or two. And I'll do an update maybe next week or something like that and tell you about it. But I don't see any reason why that is not going to work famously. Now it's my turn. Now I've got to look around and see if that's the only one. So containers are not a problem if you get fire ants in them. That stuff right there, get them. Advion. I'll put a link to it below, and my Amazon affiliate link to the Advion, and it will get them. And I would suggest you do that no matter where you garden. In fact, if you have some warm days, not raining, it might be best to go ahead and get them now this winter and not wait till spring. Spring's usually pretty wet. Summer's usually when the best time to get them, but by then you've already had to deal with them and get stung by them probably. So get you some Advion and have some fun in your container gardens. All right, we're gone.